Welcome to ChiroSphere, where we talk about all things chiropractic and some things, well, not so chiropractic. I'm Dr. Ray Foxworth, your host for ChiroSphere and CEO of ChiroHealth USA. We're the network that works for chiropractic. Today, we're privileged to get to know Johann Marron, an ad man whose journey defies convention. Johann's path into advertising wasn't straightforward, driven by intellectual curiosity. He first ventured into economics, sparking a fascination with consumer behavior and usage patterns. That's quite a combination. Ever forward-thinking, Johann is constantly looking for the next big shift in how brands connect with audiences. And doctors, you have a brand. In pursuit of innovation, he has dedicated the past 2 years to exploring AI, artificial intelligence development, and its applications in marketing. As a trailblazer in this field, Johann has been among the first to test AI platforms from leading tech companies, integrating AI-generated assets into Studio Grapho's groundbreaking work. Today, we're going to dive into his unique perspective on advertising, innovation, and the future of marketing. But before we do, I want you all to know that Johann is not only a dear friend, he has made a huge difference in what ChiroHealth USA is today. Most everything you see with the CHUSA logo or the ChiroArmor logo is a result of his ability to take a vision or an idea and turn it into reality. He's also the driver behind ChiroHealth USA's launch of ChiroAI, a free service provided to the entire profession. Think of it as AI with chiropractic-specific training. And by the way, if you ever need someone to prepare a feast from the grill or smoker or in the kitchen, there's a reason that I gave this gentleman an apron inscribed "A Vegan's Worst Nightmare." He and Aaron have put on for the last couple of years the Meat-a-Palooza, which is a big gathering of all the family of ChiroHealth USA, and nobody's ever gone away hungry. So welcome, Johann.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me over, Ray. I really appreciate this. It's always good to sit down and talk.
Yeah, no doubt. There's usually adult beverages involved when we do that, but it's too early in the morning, so I have water in my Stanley cup.
Obvious, am I right?
So let's talk a little bit about your journey. Like I said, it began in economics. How did that initial foray into a seemingly unrelated field influence your approach to really understanding consumer behavior and shaping market strategies?
That's a very good question. It started very young. I always had this little entrepreneurial spirit of sorts. My family is basically divided into professional areas. Half of it was in the military back in Venezuela. The other half was in economics, in business, mainly economics. So when you are raised with those two scenarios and you're young, you pretty much always think, I'm going to become an economist, I'm going to become, a military professional in the military. Years pass. I've always had this little thing about business and entrepreneurship and all that. And I decided to go with economics because that was what I was ingrained in me since a very early age. I started for 2 or 3 years. But I remember as if it was yesterday, we had this class about macroeconomics and microeconomics, and they were talking, the professor was talking about the elasticity and inelasticity in the demand. Basically, some products are very susceptible to price changes, and some products, when they change a little bit, their demand just lowers, and there are other products that it doesn't matter how much their price vary, the demand stays, at the same level. And that resonated very hard in me, because I said, well, people are very, very, how do I say this? You can influence people by offering lower discounts, by offering different types of services. And that led me to think in terms of economics and promotion, advertising, and things of that nature. So, because in reality, calculus and microeconomics and a lot of those subject matters, they felt really dry to me. I was called upon to start studying mass communication and advertising. So I decided to leave economics and start studying, mass communication. And that's what I decided to do. I went on that road and started on my creative profession, and started working with the big, ad agencies of that time, the Leo Burnett Company and Great Advertising, and I took off.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't thought of it in those terms, but when you got a product or a service that is immune to pricing, and I think of iPhone as one of those. It doesn't matter what they're going to charge; people are going to stand in line to get it. That type of marketing has got to be entirely different than just marketing maybe legal services or chiropractic services. So, I mean, I don't think historically we think of ourselves in terms of how do we best go about marketing what we do based on people's behavior and their sensitivity to price points, and I can truly see there's a big distinction between how you would market, like you said, iPhone from, maybe a bakery down the street. You've represented, worked with a lot of different companies. What's been the biggest challenge that you faced in marketing any good or service?
Thinking that doing exactly the same thing, it's going to yield different results. And that is something that I see over and over and over again. And sometimes there is this fear of trying something new and different because what we've been doing for so long has worked. And sometimes things get to a point where you really need to start looking at things differently. You need to evolve. The market changes. The consumer matures. New consumers enter the marketplace. Where people consume content nowadays is not the same thing or the same areas or the same way people consume content, 20 or 30 years ago. So I remember, for instance, this is kind of funny, and it's going to reveal a little bit of how old I am. But when I started my professional career in advertising, I do remember, and I had this account that's for an automobile brand, Volkswagen. And I remember putting together the ads in the art department that would come from the copywriting department, and they would type on typewriters in a sheet of paper. And then we would take that sheet of paper and we would have something called letter set, which was like hundreds of different A's and hundreds of different B's and the whole alphabet. And you will have to transcribe all the copy using letter set to build the copy on an ad and take the photograph from the photographer for the car, put it in the ad, and then you would take a photo of that composition, retouch it, and that's what we would send to the magazines and you would send to the newspapers. Nowadays, it takes 15 seconds.
Wow. That's
so,
unbelievable. And with Chiro and with ChiroAI and other AI platforms, it takes 2 seconds.
Basically, yeah. Now, the work back then was very, very manual. The work nowadays is very, very intellectual.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that, and this is something that we're going to be, and I don't want to jump ahead on things that probably going to be touching about this in this conversation further ahead. But I think what we're going to be seeing in a short to medium range is a lot of transference from that labor, manual intensive, I don't want to call it blue, collar, but kind of blue collar occupation into more intellectual. Jobs are not going to be displaced. The nature of the jobs are just going to change. Yeah. So basically what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. We recently, Aaron and I and Christy attended a conference in Las Vegas about connecting with your audiences and generating leads, that kind of thing. Because as any business does, practice or Chiro Health or any other company, you've got to create interest in what you do and how you can help practices. And one of the things that was shared by one of the speakers there that really hit me is, years ago, you could market or advertise something and people would come to you and ask more questions. Part of the buying process, if you will, was you had to educate them on what you did, how you could help, etc. And now, according to the experts that were at this conference, most people who come to you have already made a decision, and your job is not to screw it up, because you've got a website, you've got a blog, you've got information out there. So they have already pre-consumed information about you and your company or your practice. And the moment they call you, it's not a blind call, it's an informed call. More often than not, whether you've engaged with their chat bot or whether you've hit their website or, like I said, read their blog, you kind of get a feel for who you're about to do business with long before you ever dial the phone or click the link. And so, as doctors are looking at doing their marketing and advertising to grow their practices, I think it's critical that they understand that you need to have that presence out there in multiple ways for people to learn about you, because they're going to try. And if you're not on Google search, and if you don't have a Facebook page, and if you don't have an Instagram, I mean, that's where people are living. If you don't have a TikTok presence, you're not going to rise to the level of visibility to where people are going to want to engage to you. So there's a lot of pre-marketing that goes into doing your marketing, I think. Is that accurate?
It's not only accurate, it's spot on. And it ties back to what we were talking about things maturing and evolving, and the spectrum just widening exponentially throughout the years. 20, 30 years ago, you get your content, or you would consume your content from the TV, the radio, newspapers and magazines. Fast forward 40, 50 years to nowadays, and you have hundreds, if not thousands of different channels where you're bombarded every single day, with messaging and offers that, in essence, it's pretty much the same. Just to use the example of chiropractors and doctors in their practices, the message is usually the same. It's chiropractic treatments, help you to be more, around your wellness and help you with the pain and things of that nature. But in reality, all chiropractors are offering the same. And that can, go to every single vertical or market that you can think of, and it's exactly the same. So the consumer has matured, the consumer has evolved. There's a lot of democracy right now in all these things. And I ask you this question: when you go and start planning to go out for dinner, and you hear about this new restaurant in town, what's the first thing that you do? You go to Yelp, you go to Google reviews, and you see. And if you see 4 stars out of 5, you consider it. If you see 1 star out of 5, you discard it, right? So when you say that people get to your product or your service with a decision already made, that's absolutely right. People are not looking for products. People are not looking for services. What people are looking for are experiences. And this is something that chiropractors and car brands and restaurants in the hospitality industry and everybody who has a business that is out in the market need to understand. The time of offering a product for just what the product is, it's over. There are 1,000 people doing exactly the same thing, unless you have something that's unique in the market.
Yep.
Which is not the case for you.
Yeah, that makes me think of Zappos. They, started out selling shoes, but why did they grow so big? Because it was a unique experience if you ever dealt with Zappos. And so, as doctors think about their practice, it's that old phrase: what is your unique selling proposition? What makes you different, and how do you differentiate yourself from, all the other products or services that are out there? And, if there's one thing I've learned about chiropractors, everybody practices a little bit different. And, what you experience when you go to one chiropractor can be distinctly different than from another. You're both chiropractors, but your approach to health and wellness and treatment can be distinct, can be completely different. And so look at what your differences are and what you're bringing to the market and how you can bring a unique experience to those patients. I think that's really what drives loyalty, as they've found the they found the right fit with someone. So what do you think has been the most significant change in how brands, and by brands, you can include chiropractic practices, uh, what's been the most significant change in how we connect with our audiences during your career?
I think what has happened the last 20, 25 years, it's amazing. If you ask people where that person was when Woodstock happened, if you ask people when 9/11 happened, if you ask people where they were when some major historical, event happened, they will remember. One thing that I remember that really I think was the tipping point is when Steve Jobs launched the iPhone. And I saw every single mobile phone manufacturer just laughing and saying, no one's going to serve the internet on a tiny screen on a phone. Damn, they were wrong.
Big time.
80% of the internet traffic is consumed or is
Right there.
exactly.
We pick it up 150 times a day on average.
Yeah. So, and that brings me to the next point. It democratized the way people not only consume, but how they participate in the market dynamics through reviews, through chat, through email. So if you ask me what's the major difference, that before it was a one-way road, right now it's a two-way road. And that retro elements and that makes the whole dynamic completely different. It gives the consumer a lot of power.
So what do you think doctors, if you got a new practitioner starting out and they're thinking about how they're going to market their practice, or even someone who's been in practice for a while, what do you think are some of the first steps they should take when they look at growing their practice brand with today's consumers?
Be who you are. People are looking for experiences and with honest and genuine people. And if you really show interest for those patients, they will reward you with their loyalty and their business. Don't try to be someone else. Be yourself. Nurture the relationships. Not only bring them in the door, treat them, and try to keep them because of just try to keep them. Just add value to that service that you're providing. Small things go a long way. Show interest for their family, for their work, for their interest, for their family. Be in touch in a constant basis. There are amazing tools nowadays that are not expensive that will help you create that nurturing relationship, that experience. When somebody has something bad to say, they will tell everybody. When somebody has something good to say, it's very hard. So you have to make it a habit to ask for reviews, for positive reviews. If somebody's leaving your office with a smile, document that smile with a video, with a short thing, and use that as street credibility for new patients out there looking for that experience that you are willing to provide and you can provide. Yeah. So that would be my first and foremost advice for somebody who's starting a practice. The second one is brand it. You are unique. Your practice needs to be unique. The more appealing, the more beautiful your practice looks to the outside eye, the more it will stand out to the competition. And people get attracted for nice things. It's the reality of life, and that's the way it is. No one bought a Yugo because what the Yugo was, but a lot of people bought nice cars because they were nice, even though they were as bad as a Yugo. So that sometimes people get attracted to beautiful things and good things and things that look nice and things of that nature. So brand it well, brand it nicely, be authentic, and document good experiences and leverage those to gain more business and more patients.
Yep. That initial impression of your practice, you absolutely have got to be on social media. You've got to, you've got to be able to connect where people are, like we talked about.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about a patient that I had many years ago, who came into my practice, and I asked her, well, how did you hear about us? And she'd said, well, actually, I didn't hear about you. I'd heard about this other doctor down the street, and I pulled up to his office, and I don't know what it was, but the windows, the blinds that he had, on the window were all bent and crumpled, and the signage was, it was, part of the letters were falling off, and they said, you know, I just wasn't comfortable going into their office. And that reminds me of a book that I read that's titled How You Do Anything is How You Do Everything. And so from that patient, that might have been the best chiropractor on the planet, but because of the initial impression the patient had when they literally pulled up to the front door, and there's all these crinkled blinds, and like I said, the letters falling off on the hours of the clinic, they chose not to go see him. And so, doctors, I challenge you, step outside of your office and walk in the front door sometimes instead of the back door. Look at look at the appearance of your office from the outside. Walk into the waiting room and see if you've got magazines from 1972, or
That's a typical one.
it just because people, believe it or not, we make judgments on things that you may not think are important. And so that initial appearance is, so I can see the same thing. There are some crappy ads that are out there for chiropractors, and that believe it or not, what you think you may be doing to attract people is actually repelling them. So it's a anyway. I thought I would share that, because that first impression, that branding, that other doctor's branding was bent window shades, and it cost him a patient.
Really?
No telling how many other patients did the exact same thing.
You're absolutely right on that. Yeah.
Crazy how people think. Well, hang tight, everyone, while we take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Welcome back to our podcast with the ad man, Johann. He is the brains behind a lot of the marketing that we do here at Chiro Health USA. So I want to delve into the AI side of this for a minute. How has AI changed what you do day to day?
I'm going to give you a very specific example, and I'm going to use Chiro Health USA as a subject here.
Are you going to bring up how butt ugly my marketing was whenever we first met?
I would never do that.
And it was done in Photoshop and Microsoft
I would never do that.
Creator or whatever on Gator boards, and it's a wonder we ever took off, Johann, before you got involved.
Those were the good days, huh? No, the example that I'm gonna bring is something that probably ad people or marketing people like myself encounters over and over again in chiropractic, businesses, is the lack of assets, graphic assets, specifically photography, to work with, right? There are these huge image banks where you can go and get stock photography. And when you're looking for photos of chiropractors adjusting, there are probably like 15 of them, and that's it.
I know.
Yeah. And that's it. So if you take any trend publication and start going through the different ads, you can see the same chiropractor in 2 or 3 different ads.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a challenge for people like me. So what has AI done? AI has gone to a point where you can basically describe what your ideal chiropractor looks like, how he feels, what kind of practice he has or she has, what that person is doing, how the patient is laying down on the table, or if he's saying goodbye, and it will generate a high resolution image ready for you to use.
Wow.
This is something that, for me, having it 10 years ago, the way that I want it, I would have to and tell you, Ray, I need $5,000 for a photo shoot. Right now, no need for that. So, and that's just one example of the things that AI can do for us. Now, for a regular chiropractor, countless, just countless.
So, interestingly enough, I was just on another podcast with a gentleman, and there was a comment made to his company that if you ever integrate artificial intelligence into your software, we're not going to use you. And I thought, oh my gosh, for someone to take that kind of stance against AI because they're afraid it's going to take over the world, I think what they're missing is all of the ways that it can simplify and streamline your practice and your operation. So what are some of the basic first steps that doctors and their teams should consider to really get familiar with AI and what it can help them do? I mean, what things do you see AI helping the average practice with?
It's funny that you say that. I just read a report for 2024, 2025 that McKinsey put out on the future, the short term and the future of AI. And the trend is irreversible. The growth of implementation and talent that's being acquired for AI and the needs and the implementation and the full adoption of AI at every level, from enterprise to sales to healthcare, marketing, you name it, is exponentially growing year by year. So it is a reality. It's not a matter of if you're going to integrate it, I'm not going to use it. It's going to happen, you like it or not. Actually, it's already happening. So there's no way escaping it. That's my view, and it's the view for a lot of people. But at the very basic, what I think practices can start leveraging the use of AI. Right now, there are many tools out there that are completely and absolutely free, starting with ChiroAI, and they can start using that for simple things like help me write a social media post that highlights the way that I approach the level that I practice, or write me an email that I can use to reactivate patients that have not come the last 6 months. And it's gonna get you more productive in a lesser amount of time. So I would encourage doctors and more importantly their CAs and the front desk staff to fully embrace these tools, because it's going to make their work easier, more effective, have more quality, and it's a win-win situation. Run, for instance, letters, requesting reconsiderations for appeals in claims if that's the case. Just write the letter, run it through, ChiroAI. ChiroAI is going to tell you, I think it's good, I think it's bad, here's a rewrite, you have an error here. For clarity, I think that you should use this. So use it, start there. And as you feel comfortable, you can start integrating those things more and more in your practice. This is an area that is evolving at hyperspeed. So where we are today it's going to be old in 6 months.
Yeah, we're definitely on the front end of it, no doubt. One of the things that I found interesting, or as we were beta testing our launch of ChiroAI, was I had a little fun with it. I'll share this with everyone. And you can do this on your own. When we're marketing to the public, we run an ad, and we hope that ad appeals to everyone with a spine. And the reality is the language that you use when you're speaking to a man, a woman, the head of the household, a caretaker, is entirely different. So one of the things that I did is I asked ChiroAI to write me 5 different social media posts on the benefits of chiropractic care for women who were pregnant. And it wrote the ad, and then I asked it to write that ad in such a way that it appeals specifically to women, and it was different. The language was softer. The approach was different. And then I asked it to write rewrite the ads in a language for men whose wife might be pregnant. And
I can entirely.
I'm not going to go into the details, but you can imagine.
Oh yeah.
Because the husband that is at home with a wife with back pain and having trouble getting up and down, how do you appeal to him to get him to recommend to his wife to come in and see the chiropractor? And then I had a little fun. I said, write this ad in the voice of Andrew Dice Clay. Write this in the voice of George Carlin. Write this in the voice of Shakespeare. And I love the Shakespeare example. So get on ChiroAI and play around with it. It really is a lot of fun. But what you'll learn is the more parameters that you give it, the more the prompts that you want it to, the prompts that you input is really going to dictate what comes out the other end. So the ad that you might write that's about back pain, just understand that back pain for a teenager is entirely different than a back pain for a senior citizen. And the language that you might use to appeal to the mother of a teenager and the language it might appeal to, to someone who's a senior citizen is entirely
absolutely different.
Yeah. And so you don't have to go necessarily hire a copywriter to do that. You literally take whatever your concept is, whatever your ad is, and input it into the system, and then tell it what perspective you want the output to be. Who do you want it to appeal to? And that was probably one of the most fun things that I found playing with it. I mean, it can, like you said, it can write your newsletters. It can do your blogs for you. You kind of give it the basics and then give it the twist of who you want that particular thing to appeal to, and ooh la la,
and that's it.
15 seconds is done.
And I'm so glad that you're bringing this up and you had fun with it, and you're giving this example, because we've been trained and we've been kind of conditioned to interact with technology from a search perspective, right? What is Chiro Health USA? So we ask a question and we get a response. And these things will evolve into experiences again, because they also are calling it experiences, where a question is no longer required. You just propose an end and the AI will get you there. Okay? And what do I mean by that? When you say, write me an email for patient reactivation, right? It will give you that, but that's the search mindset playing. I would encourage you to try some approach like this. I'm Dr. Foxworth. I'm going to be pasting in this window an example of the last 10 emails that I've sent to patients that I wanted to reactivate. I want you to read every single one of them. And once you have read every single one of them, just let me know. Paste all those examples, hit send. It will take 3 seconds, and the ChiroAI is going to tell you, okay, I read them. You are teaching ChiroAI to speak in your tone of voice.
You really can personalize it, no doubt.
Okay, so after that, you say, now that you know how I write, I want to improve my writing, and I want you to help me do that. Understood? Well, understood. Okay, now I want you to help me write and give me examples of 10 different emails reactivating patients, and you start giving them parameters after parameter after parameters, and you can get as complex as you want, and it will provide you what you need in your tone, mimicking exactly the way you want to sound or come across. So these are tools that are available to you right now for free. Thanks for Chiro Health USA.
And thanks to you, no doubt.
Thanks to you for believing in that.
We did. And early on, it's like, well, what does this really got to do with what we do? And the reality is, it is in alignment with our core values, and the most important being, our purpose, cause, and passion is to improve the quality of lives of our doctors, their staff, their patients, their teams, and our teams. And, it just was so congruent with who we are, that's why I felt compelled to, let's not just make this available to the members of Chiro Health USA, but this can really help the entire profession, which is really the driver behind just about everything we do at our company. And so I appreciate you help bringing that to a reality. So Johann, for those practices that may want to consider hiring a professional like you to help them with their branding and their marketing, what would be the best way to connect with you?
They can always, they can come to our website, studiografo.com, studiografo.com. There is a contact us form there. They can see part of our work that, some of the work for Chiro Health USA and other, players in the chiropractic space are showcased there. Or they can write me an email directly to Johann, Johann, at studiografo.com, studiografo.com.
Yep. And I will share with everyone, we brought Johann on to help with our marketing with Chiro Health USA, but also at the same time, I had my practice, and the difference in the marketing that we had and the way that we looked to the public compared to some of our colleagues that are out there who are well-intentioned in their marketing. Holy cow, what a difference it makes when you rely on the expertise of someone who knows what to do, who knows how to brand, or if you think you know how you want your practice to appear to the public, but you don't know how to put that together image-wise. This gentleman really made a huge difference in our practice, but also at Chiro Health USA. So I've got some curveballs I want to throw at you now.
Oh,
so just
okay.
Who's your hero and why?
That's a hard question.
I know. I asked ChiroAI to write it.
Who is my hero and why? We have this person that we look upon to from time to time, and then you grow up, circumstances and things in your life make you look at things differently. My hero to me is every single person who's willing to help another in need. It doesn't matter a big name. It doesn't matter if it's a famous person or not. I think my biggest hero is there's a lot of them out there willing to put their personal interest aside, are willing to act anonymously and help other people, in their time of suffering, in their time of need. Not to get, religious and all that, but I think that charity and well-intention and doing the good work, it takes you to that level of being a hero. So we all can be a hero, and for me, that's the biggest hero. I can spend an hour telling you who I admire and why I do admire them. But I think it would be easy.
Sounds like the common denominator is their willingness to uplift others or be there for them. I think that's important. And, that's something else I want to touch on, for docs that are maybe struggling in practice or want to get to the next level. One of the things that helped me along the way was to identify those mentors. And I will tell you, for those that might be afraid to approach someone who's done well or playing a bigger game than you are, I have found as I've been very fortunate in being able to scale my practice and grow this company. And I have yet to encounter someone who's playing a bigger game or doing better than I have that wasn't willing to bend over backwards to reach down and help me get where they are. So don't ever feel like that those people are aloof, or that they're untouchable, or you can't call them up, because there really is a lot of joy that when you help someone else succeed or you see things in them that they didn't see in themselves. Man, what a joy that is. And so, understand that about mentors that are out there and people that are helping other people. don't ever, hesitate to raise your hand and say, hey, I could use a little coaching. I could use a little influence. I could use some insight and to learning what to do. And sometimes most importantly, what not to do. So, I believe it's Tony Robbins who said success leaves clues.
Mhm.
And so for those that are looking to grow or scale their practice or whatever, reach out to coaches, reach out to consultants, reach out to admin, reach out to the people that can help you get where you think you want to go. So I
The
have one other
bravest,
question. Yeah, go
the
ahead.
bravest thing that a person can do is ask for help.
Oh, I would absolutely. It's the bravest, but also sometimes the hardest.
Yeah, and
Yep. Yep. No doubt
people
about it.
sometimes need to do that.
Yeah. So what talent do you have that most people don't know about? Besides,
Besides drilling,
yeah, besides the Metapalooza.
Mm. Besides the Metapalooza, I have this thing about understanding and looking at things in a different way that a lot of people don't have. And sometimes it's been a blessing, sometimes it's been a curse. But probably because of my multiculturalism, all the different heritages that I have in my upbringing, in my family. And because I travel a lot and I go to different, places and I try to absorb and learn not only what I see and I experience, but also interacting with other people, even if I don't, know them. I think that gives me a sense of a capacity to see things a little bit and to use a cliche word outside of the box in a
Yeah,
different angle. And a lot of my friends and people close to me always pick up the phone and say, hey, this what's going on. What do you think? Not because I know everything, but because sometimes I just ask a question that they never ask
you have a
themselves.
different perspective.
Yeah. So, and it's not like I try to, tell people what to do, but I love encouraging people to ask different questions.
Yep.
And sometimes it's very helpful.
Yep. So what's the worst job you ever had?
Worst job I've ever had. I've learned from every single job that I've had. And I am thankful for every single one of those experiences. Having said that, I remember a job that I had many, many, many years ago, when I just immigrated from Venezuela to the United States. Everybody who immigrates have to take a little bit of a downgrade in their life and lifestyle. It's just the nature of things. And I had to work in a company that required some manual labor from me. It was probably one of the most humbling and teachable moments that I've ever had in my life. My professional career back in Venezuela was like a rocket. It took off and it got very high. And for different, circumstances, I came to the United States, and that break, that
Just
difference
start all over.
between now and now I'm here, starting basically from scratch again, and having all that road that you already, walked through and you already climbed, you have to do it all over again. It taught me two things: resilience, that a lot of people talk to, very few people have experienced it, uh, and the things that you're capable of doing when you have the right person by your side. So that job, even though I had to unload 40 feet containers, in a 95-degree weather, uh, I would lose 6 pounds in a day by doing that. It's not that that's the only thing that I do, but sometimes I had to do that. It was
You
very
do what you
humbling, and
have
I
to do.
appreciate it.
Yep. No doubt about it. Well, thanks so much for spending some time with us today, Johann. I hope everyone's enjoyed getting to know you as I have. And thank you all for listening to the ChiroSphere podcast. Please subscribe and share the podcast with your friends and let us know who you'd like to hear from in the future or what topics you'd like us to cover. If you want to learn more about Chiro Health USA and how we can help you develop a compliant, profitable discount strategy that will absolutely grow your practice, your income, and profitability, call us at 888-719-9990 or visit our website at chusa.com. That's how you spell Chusa, to find out why Chiro Health USA is the network that works for chiropractic and you. Thanks again, Johann.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you very much.